That's perfect. That's a great fit, right? Be hard to kill and be tough. And that comes down to training. Like I got to share my all-time favorite quote is from Archilochus. We don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. Another way I like to teach that is like, we don't live at the level of our hopes. We live at the level of our habits. So if we want to be hard to kill, we have to practice being hard to kill. You put it into a habit. I have a habit of training. If we want to be easy to love, we have to practice being easy to love. We have to make it a habit to be lovable and respectable. That's masculinity, brother. To be genuinely lovable and respectable.
Welcome to the Dad Nation podcast, where men go from good to great in their life and love. Now more than ever, our world needs strong, courageous, and compassionate men, because we believe that when the dad gets better, the whole family wins. Now, this movement is called Dad Nation, but ultimately this is for the wives, the children, and the generations to come, because we also believe that every wife and child deserves a father who is pursuing greatness. I am your host, Mitchell Osmond, and I am so grateful and I'm humbled that you've chosen to spend your most precious resource, which is your time, with me today. Listen, today we've got another incredible episode for you, so let's get into it. All right, welcome to the Dad Nation podcast. Today we have my brother Greg Denning on the show. And listen, here's a bit of his bio just to introduce him to you all in case you haven't heard of him and what he's been up to. But Greg Denning is known for his positive energy and his unique ability to inspire others. He left home at the age of 16 due to difficult family circumstances and spent some tough years, hungry, lonely, and discouraged. He was determined to discover the secrets to creating a happy life, and if it was even possible. He started this journey of personal growth and development that continues to this day, and which led him to create the life of his dreams. He and Rachel, his wife, have been blissfully married for 24 years and have 7 awesome children with whom they have traveled to over 60 countries. Yes, 60 countries, and have created multiple 6-figure location independent businesses. They currently live in Europe. Now, Greg is a family, lifestyle, and business consultant for entrepreneurs and businessmen, as well as the creator and coach for the Formidable Family Man Tribe, where he helps family men master their fitness, their family, and their finances. Listen, Greg, I am so pumped to have you on this show. Thanks for being with us today, brother.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited to talk about this. Anytime we can talk about being dads, I'm in.
Yeah, bro. Love it. Love it. Love it. So, why don't you tell us, obviously I just read, a bit of your bio, but tell us a little bit more, man. Let us in on the inside. Really, what's the genesis story of this organization, and what was the seed, that original thought that kind of made you want to do this?
Yeah, it was honestly, it was my own desperation. So my parents, I love them. They did the best they could, but they got divorced early, and then stepdads came and went to the tune of 6. And by 16, I was like, man, I'm out. I'm done. This. I'm gonna go figure this out on my own. I had no idea how hard it was gonna be. Right? It was
Mm.
absolutely brutal, and I didn't have any family, no friends. It was shy, timid, broken, insecure. Man, it was brutal. And I remember just sitting there by myself. It was Christmas Eve and Christmas and New Year's and my birthday, that the 3 or 4 weeks right there in a row, just totally alone. Like Christmas Eve, just sitting by myself in a bad part of town, freezing cold room, didn't have enough heat. And I was like, man, this sucks. I never want to experience anything like this ever again. And I never, ever want my kids to ever have to go through anything like this.
Mm.
And so that pain gave me power.
Mm.
That desperation drove me to find those answers, right? The secrets, like, okay, if it's possible to be genuinely happy and successful, I'm going to figure it out. I'll either
Mm.
find a way or I will make one. And so I went after it, reading voraciously, asking everybody I get a hold of or talk to, observing, modeling, experimenting, and started piecing it together and working on myself. Overcame my
Mm.
own victimism, faced in my weaknesses and my challenge, started setting huge goals, and then we just strategically built our family dream life.
Wow. Love that, man. So let's talk a little bit about that family dream life, because I know when we were talking before, before we, when we were just chatting about what this episode could look like, you talked about how passionate you are about creating like a thriving family
Mhm.
culture, right? And I know many high performing men who excel in their careers, but they struggle to sort of create that strong family culture at
Mhm.
home, and they struggle to lead at home like they do at work. And so, in your opinion, I mean, you coach men, you built an entire business around this. What do you think are the key ingredients to like building that home environment that fosters some of these things that we all want, which is like more connection, more adventure, more growth? Like, what are some of the key ingredients to foster that?
Yeah, I love that. The one thing I've observed, I've been able to work with thousands of men across 5 continents. And one observation I've had is we just simply are not strategic enough about
Mm,
the things that matter most to us. So you're right, we want it. Like, I haven't met a family man that doesn't want awesome family dynamics and family culture and a cool family legacy, but it often doesn't go beyond that. Like,
mm,
what if this was your main purpose, your true priority? What if you had to make this happen? What would you do? And it forces us to get really strategic about it and start putting it in place. And so, some of those key things. Well, number one is presence. Nothing, nothing, absolutely nothing can compensate for presence. If we're absent, either literally or figuratively, because a lot of times we're mentally or emotionally absent. If we're absent, there's no making up for that, man.
mm,
And nobody else in the world can make up for that, right? You are the only person that can be the father to your children and the husband to your wife, right? Anybody can mow the lawn, man. Anybody can wash the car. But I'm the only man that should be taking my wife on a date. And I'm the
mm,
only man that should be being a father to my children. So being present is one. Another thing is sometimes we get thinking that succeeding in other areas will kind of compensate or make up for failures at home. Like, well, if I just crush it in the business world, or just lean into these other areas of life, that'll kind of balance things out. It just doesn't work. So we have to put our family first and be there for them. And I really lean into both quality and quantity, and the
mm,
science backs that up. It
mm,
just absolutely backs it up for moms and dads being there with the kids. My whole strategy, and you'll probably hear me talk about it a lot today, because it kind of spills through everything we do, and the way we structure our life is micro dosing and macro dosing. So micro dosing are the little things I do every day, right? So hug my kids every single day, lots of times, telling them how much I love them all the time. I greet them in the morning, first thing in the morning. I want to be the one greeting them with a big smile, hugs, love, like, oh, I'm so excited to see you. Welcome to another great day of life. I'm setting the tempo for them. And then
mm,
hugs and kisses before bed. And then doing all the cool things that I want to do as a man and as a family, we're doing together. So our family's working out together. We're doing chores together. We're going on adventures together. We're serving together. We're learning together. And so I'm trying to do so many of those things together and setting the tone and the tempo, the energy that I bring. I guess that's another absolutely critical element, is like you and I, as husbands and fathers, we have to be responsible for the energy we bring
mm,
and produce. And I get to set the thermostat for my family, right?
mhm,
So I'm like, no, we're gonna be awake, energized, and alive, and we're gonna operate at that level so we all feel fantastic. And then chasing goals, hitting those targets, it makes for what makes family life so enjoyable, brother, and so effective. Like, you get to do these things that you dream about, instead of just, oh, that's a pipe dream. It's not real. It can't actually happen, but it does. And it's real.
mm, mhm. I love that. Presence and energy
Yeah.
are 2 big things. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think a lot of people say you can't have it all. You can't have the great career, you can't have, the income and have a great marriage and be present at home. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
what I'm hearing you say is that you're living proof that a man can. Would you
Absolutely.
agree? Yeah.
And should. And there's this crazy idea is like, if you can, then you should. Maybe if you can, then you must. And if extraordinary is possible, then good is not good enough.
That's it.
But I totally can relate because early on I was like, man, it's not possible. There's no way. And I would ask people, I would ask a lot of people, hey, is this possible? I'm like, nah, it's not possible. It's not realistic. Problem is, I was asking the wrong people. I was
Mm,
asking the people who were operating at mediocre levels. Say,
mhm.
hey, can you do these things? Nah, man, you can't do that. Like, it can't be done. I tried once. Yeah, you can't do that stuff. And so I heard a lot of you can't do it. And if well, okay, here's the uncomfortable truth, brother. 98% of people are just kind of going along in survival mode, just going with the flow, wherever life takes them, the currents, the winds, whatever. There's floating. It's only 2% of people who are really striving. And there's 2% of people who are extremely deliberate, intentional, and strategic. So if you talk to 2%ers, especially the ones who are doing it really well, say, hey, is it possible to have it all? Like, absolutely. Absolutely. But and this is why I do the coaching I do and why it works so well. Because it took me years. Like I was reading voraciously. So I started reading at 17, right? And I've averaged a book a week for over 25 years.
Wow.
Just crazy digging and interviewing anyone I can talk to. It's really looking for these answers and the secrets. And so what I put together and what I call this holistic optimization. So whole life optimization. Basically what you're trying to do is trying to optimize all your roles. Fitness, family, finances, your emotional, your mental, your spiritual, all those aspects. And if you make small tweaks to each of them, then you start optimizing. And once you're optimized, it's so much easier to do them all well.
Hey, I promise we're going to get back to this episode, but I just wanted to take a few seconds to tell you about a free marriage course that I'm offering, no charge, and it's called Remodel Your Marriage. And it's a 4-step blueprint to understanding your wife, keeping your cool, and getting the fire back in your marriage. And in this course, we're going to dig into the 4 foundations that every successful couple understands well. And that's number 1, how to love each other well. Number 2, how to feel and how to communicate how you feel, how to communicate through conflict. Number 3 is how to fight fair and how to fight well. And then number 4 is how to have fun and to break out of that routine of becoming just really great roommates. And so if you're watching this and maybe you would say that your marriage is feeling a little stale, maybe needs a little remodeling or refreshing, all you need to do is head to dadnationco.com/remodel for that free course for you, my friend. I put a lot of time and energy into it, and I believe that it can help you transform your marriage. I believe in the marriage model. I believe in you and your marriage, my friend. All right, let's get back to the episode.
That's the ticket right there, brother.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so in your experience, I mean, let's spin off of this because I'm with you. I am 100% with you. And in a lot of my work, a lot of my clients come to me who have been convinced of this lie as well,
Mhm.
is that, well, they can either have the career or the great life at home, but you can't have both, right? And then they just spiral, and then they end up on a call with me. But what do you think, in your experience with walking with men, is the culprit for this narrative that convinces people that they can't go for the extraordinary, they can't, do these things? What is it that gets in the way?
Honestly, I think it's a lack of exposure. We haven't seen it.
Mm,
And we definitely haven't seen it up close. So if we don't know what it looks like, well, then first thing is like we don't know it exists. And then if we hear rumors that it exists, we don't know what it looks like. We don't know how to actually figure it out. Like, where's the playbook? Give me the instructions, give me the formula so I can pull this off. Because everyone I've grown up with is just kind of struggling along in survival mode. And so we look around and we look around in our little demographic, right? And if we're like kind of go getters, high achievers, then we just look to the people who are at the top of our demographic and we think, okay, I'll go to that. But we have to look beyond those ceilings We have to get out and get exposure to it up close in person and make sure it's authentic, not some Instagram fake, right? It's like, no, this is real. Like I actually have a phenomenal marriage, a genuinely great relationship with my kids, and I'm doing really well in business. It's all the stuff and things. And I'm in great shape. You lift up your shirt and you're like, here's the evidence, dude. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not lying about my fitness. Right. So because results don't lie. So it's that exposure. And then what happens is you get into it and you start looking at it. So I guess the first piece is exposure. The second piece is you start looking at it, you're like, oh man, that's a crazy amount of work. And this is where I got stuck, brother. This is so huge because I was stuck here for so long. My only thought early on, because I didn't know anybody else, I didn't know a single entrepreneur. My only thought was if I want money, I have to get a job. If I want more money, I have to get another job. And then if I want more money than that, I just have to work way longer hours. And so my only formula in my head was more, more, more. Well, eventually you run out of hours and you burn out and you crash and it crushes you. Then one day it finally clicked for me and I was a super slow learner on this one. Like it took a while to sink in. It's like, no, man, all you have to do is add way more value to the marketplace.
Mm.
That's why some guys are earning 40 bucks, some are earning 40 bucks an hour, and some are earning 400 an hour, and some are earning 4,000 an hour. And the difference is the value they provide to the marketplace.
Mm.
And the coolest thing ever, it's not luck. It's like, oh man, that guy's so lucky. It's strategy. And those are learnable skills. Like I have
Love that.
friends that make thousands of dollars an hour.
Mhm.
And why? Because they went out and hustled to develop the knowledge and skills that people will gladly pay them that much money to do the work for them.
Mm. Yeah, I think so many guys, and I say guys, I'm sure women do too, but because this is the Dad Nation podcast, I talk to men. But we get caught in this cycle of trading our dollars for hours or hours for
Mhm,
dollars, right?
mhm.
And it's like, oh, there is a different way, certainly. And how can you show up, add more value, all that kind of stuff. No, I love that, man. So thank you for sharing that. I noticed you mentioned that you have a genuinely thriving marriage, which is great, man. And that's always the hope. I know that there's a lot of men who follow and listen to the show who would also want to hope to have a passionate marriage, but a lot of guys would probably uh, feel these feelings of kind of they just sort of fall into the routine that they just kind of become really effective
Mhm.
roommates. Marriage is
Yes.
kind of boring. It's just same thing day in, day out. Now you mentioned, your marriage and how you're thriving and I love this idea, you talked about presence, you talked about energy, and I'd love to talk about intentionality as well because I know that it's a huge part of this and strategy, but what are like for a man who's listening today who might be stuck in sort of a that boring kind of roommate style marriage? What are the most effective ways or some tips that you could give guys who are listening in order to like reignite that magic or that intimacy or kind of really just develop that deeper connection with his
Yes.
wife?
Yes. And that's the point of being married right there. So we have the magic and the romance and the passion and we can be best friends and there's real connection and amazing sex and life is fun. It has that spark when we were first dating or when we were first engaged or early married, like that kind of stuff. And you're right, it's super easy. Just the kids come along especially, and the jobs, the careers, the house, the chores, and you're like, "Oh, man." Like, a lot of people slip into, like, you're existing to pay the bills and to do we just do house together. We're just playing house, playing family life, and this is so dull. So, the one thing that is an absolute game changer that I learned the hard way, and now I teach all the time, and the men I get to coach with is learn how to really truly listen.
Mm,
Women think out loud, and most women have a need to talk. Like they have this desire and drive to talk, comparable to a men's drive or desire for sex. Like, men are
Wow.
just like, we're driven, right? And a man, most men know that. They know that feeling. They're like, "Oh, man, I just want sex. I need sex." Like, the more we love our wives, the more we want sex. And my wife makes that comparison. She's like, "I need to talk. I need to connect emotionally through talking as much as you need to connect physically through sex."
Mm.
And man, it was huge. So then, but then I tell most men, and they're like, "Bro, I totally listen to my wife all the time." I'm like, "Well, let's have your wife describe how you listen."
Mm.
And I'll hear things like, like the husband's, he's sitting on the edge of the bed, just looking at the ground, like, "Yeah, okay, go on, babe," and like totally checked out, totally absent. The funniest and saddest one I heard, was the husband just lays down the bed, covers his head with a pillow, and says, "Okay, go ahead. I'm ready." Right? Like, epic fail. And of course, his wife was so frustrated and so disconnected from him. And he still wants, great sex life, but he won't listen to her. Because and in our defense, to men, when women talk out loud, they're just sharing whatever comes in their head, and they're speaking through their emotions. So they're sharing what they feel, they're sharing what they think, not necessarily what they mean. And so we can't always hold them to it, because they're just processing out loud. If it comes in and they feel it, they say it. And it's not like concrete, like, man, like, I'm going to think on this for a while. I'm going to go back in my cave here and I'm going to think all about it. And then when I come talk about it, I'll have really thought through this and then I'll say something. Women are just
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I thought this, so I'm going to say it." And
Mm.
they're just processing out loud. And after they have a chance to process and vent, and sometimes it's a volcano. If they got a lot of stuff in there, and it's a big storm, women are often like the ocean. If there's a big storm in there and all the stuff and things is connected and all comes out, if we can sit there and listen and be like the lighthouse can handle the wind. The lighthouse can handle the waves. The lighthouse can handle the storms, the tsunamis. If we listen like that, afterwards, our wives feel amazing. They feel so much better. They just process out loud. They're like, "Oh, I feel so great. Thank you so much. That was amazing. Thank you for listening to me." And now they feel connected and they're close. They feel cherished and supported, and they don't feel rejected. Then they feel like, "Well, my man is strong enough to handle all my emotions and all my concerns and all my worries and fears. He can handle that and still love me." Wow.
Mm.
And that brings a closeness that is incomparable,
Mm.
way, way beyond the whole roommate thing. But a
Yeah.
man has to be an active listener. So for me, I sit next to my wife and I'm like rubbing her feet or holding her hand while she's kind of venting and processing it all. And I might even be just holding her close and hugging her while she, cries. And women have this need to cry. And then all that stuff will come up, and men are like, "Why are you crying? Stop crying. You don't need to cry about that." And we're trying to fix everything. So she says something like, "I'll just fix it. I'll take care of that. Why are you so upset?" And we take it personally and we get all upset and we're trying to tell her, this stuff. Man, the best thing we do is keep our mouth shut. Don't take it personal. Let her vomit all the stuff while you have your imaginary hazmat suit on. So it's like all the vomit, right? She's doing is venting, just venting it all out. And then nothing of it gets on you. And then when she's done, she's like, "I feel great." And you're like, "Great, me too. Thank you for sharing all that with me." It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. Men just need to be better listeners.
Yeah. It's fascinating how we're wired so differently, and I talk about this often with men too. Just the idea of active listening, and but this idea that women need to be engaged emotionally to connect physically. Right now, and you would know this. Men are different. We need to
Yep.
be engaged physically to connect emotionally. Like you think about what
Exactly.
happens after sex, the pillow talk that, then all of a sudden there's like some magic potion you drank and all of a sudden now you can talk
Exactly.
about your feelings and it's like
All the big emotions come after.
100%. And it's so
Exactly.
funny how we've been designed that way. And if we could just understand that in the moment
Mhm.
and meet each other and make space for one another in those times, man, it would be yeah, it's
Yeah,
powerful. Thank you
it's
for sharing
huge.
all that, man.
Yep.
Appreciate that. Hey, we're going to get back to the episode, but While I have you here, I wanted to ask you, would you consider helping a brother who's struggling in his life right now? Maybe it's a guy searching the internet to help save his marriage, his health, or his family. Maybe it's a man that's just behind you on this journey. And we know, statistically speaking, there are thousands of men doing this, and we know that there are probably men in your social circles that are struggling with some of these very same things. If you'd be willing to help, this is how you can help, and I promise it'll take less than 60 seconds. If you've gotten any value from this podcast so far, would you be willing to give us an honest review and subscribe to our channel, whatever channel you're listening on? If you want to take this to the next level, would you consider sending this link to a friend of yours who you know would benefit from listening to this show? Now, why would you do that? Because the more men that hear this content, the more marriages we can save, the more fathers we can help step up, and the more lives that we can change forever. This isn't just for the men. This is for the wives, the children, and the generations to come. So I want to say thank you so much for doing your part to help other men find the support that they need. Now let's get back to it. I mean, we talk about actively listening and being focused, and just really working on your, showing up and being present and being focused. Um, but I know, a lot of the guys that I work with as well, they're high achievers. They're juggling work. They're juggling, projects that are due, employees, problems, you name it. And then they've got their own personal things going on, or, the finances or whatever. And it can feel so hard. It can be so hard to be fully present and focused and intentional in a moment. But for a busy dad who might be listening, a career driven man who this would resonate with, who's just struggling with the juggle, so to speak. What kind of advice would you give him to be present in this moment when he's listening to his wife, even as she's kind of just, as you've said, vomiting, you know,
Mhm.
as she's getting it all out? How can a guy stay locked in those moments instead of checking out?
Yeah, one of the it's kind of a superpower, and I think men are built and created for this. We can segment stuff. We can kind of put it in boxes and we can categorize it. And I think it's for some of these purposes. So all the guys I work with are super high achievers, like successful businessmen, entrepreneurs, physicians, dentists. Like there's just go-getters, right? Business owners, and they've got all the employees and all the problems and all the stuff and things. And these guys are, achieving things, right? We're chasing dreams, as am I. I have huge dreams and goals.
Mhm.
The superpower is to put boundaries on those things and keep them in check. There will always be more work to do. There will always be problems and difficulties. Work will fill whatever space you give it. And people people will take whatever time and attention you give them. So if we learn to first do it ourselves, kind of mentally, emotionally, and physically, to keep boundaries on all of the aspects of our lives, keep
Mhm.
them in buckets, or keep them in categories, or keep them in a corral with panels, and however you want to see it, however you want to visualize it, keep it in its space, right? If you'll keep it in its space and honor that, so you create a plan, you create a schedule, and you honor it, then it gives you this space to be able to stop, say at dinner time, I'm going to have dinner with my family every night,
Mhm.
right? You make it a priority and you hold that there. You're like, oh, but this thing, and oh, this, my manager's calling, and oh, this employee needs me, and this customer, like, hey, you know what? I want to help you so much. And I coach my clients to do this. In fact, there was a one recent story. This customer called and was just all rant and raving, so upset, and you got to fix this. And this particular gentleman was so driven. He wanted to fix things immediately because he thought his customers, like, he built his business on a fast response. So I challenged him. I said, hey, let your customer know that you're prioritizing your family because you are a genuine family man, and you'll get to it as soon as possible. So I'm like, just try it. And he was nervous about it. So this client calls, big client, big paycheck. And he says, I'm so sorry. I really want to help you. I promised my wife and kids that I would spend time with them, that I'd be home for dinner, and I'd put them first because they're the most important people in my life. And I made a commitment to be home to have dinner with them and spend the evening with them. Would that be okay with you? I'm going to honor that, and I'll get to you first thing in the morning. And this client was like, yes, that is the right thing to do. I want to work more with you. Your integrity, your honor, you putting family first, like that is the exact right thing to do. Like, thank you for that kind of integrity. Yeah, we're gonna keep doing business with you.
Mm,
And so he's able to, the customer was like respected him more, and he was able to go home and keep a commitment to his wife and children. So
mm,
keep your family in check. Figure out how to do all the work you need to do in, if you got to cut off an hour or two, so be it. Fit
mm,
it in there. Figure out how to do it. And people do it every day. The funniest way they do it is if they have vacation coming. When the most effective work is done in the workspace in corporate America is the days before a vacation.
mm,
People get so much done. Like, bro, you did 10 times the work you normally do last week.
mhm,
So you're capable of doing it.
mhm,
And it's incredible. So when we just say, you know what, I have boundaries, and here's the big one, brother. And this one will absolutely change, anyone who's listening, this will change your life. Learn how to keep that phone away from family, especially away from your wife. I have not met a wife who does not hate her husband's phone.
mm.
It's stealing attention from her, and she abhors that thing. My wife included.
This is good. I'm writing down a bunch of notes, and if anyone is, if you're listening to this episode and you're driving or you're doing something around the house, just park it, rewind the last 30 seconds and or maybe the whole thing and listen to it again and start taking some notes. This is fantastic direction, fantastic advice, man. So this is so there's so many things that I want to talk about, man. It's crazy. But we're just gonna move on because I know I want to respect your time. But I want to talk a little bit about masculinity. We touch on this, I would say, semi regularly here on the Dad Nation podcast, because I think we're living in a time where a lot of men are confused
Mhm,
about their masculinity and even what that means. They're even afraid to say the word. And I was on a call with, I just onboarded a new client a few days ago who literally just said, I don't know how to be a man.
mhm,
I actually don't know how to show up. I feel like my wife is the man, and I don't even feel comfortable saying the man anymore. How do I become a man? And this guy was in his 40s and been married for 15 years.
mhm.
And I was like, wow, like we are confused.
Yep.
We're confused. And I think many men feel like they've lost their edge, you know,
Mhm,
in marriage and in life. But because we're on this marriage train right now, um, when you think about embracing your masculinity in a marriage, right? In a way that deepens attraction, respect, all the things that we desire in marriage from our spouses, the desire to feel competent, to be respected, all that stuff. What kind of advice would you give a man who has lost his edge and wants to, for lack of a better phrase, reclaim his masculinity and show up as a powerful husband and a father in the family?
Yeah, I love this one. It's because it's such a big societal problem right now. It's massive. Yeah, you're right. It's being attacked, and well, it started before that. It started with a couple of generations. So our fathers and grandfathers, they started losing it, and so we didn't see it modeled very well, and
Mm,
kind of lost that edge, and became soft and comfortable and weak, and the whole, the feminist movement. Um, Felt like, and it was, so much good came from it, so much crap came from it too, because it felt like it had to compete with men, or in order to build up women, we have to tear down men. And that's
mm,
why men get afraid to be masculine and strong. And there's a lot of confusion too. So there's all these different elements hitting at the same time. And one of them, particularly with marriage and with wives will say, women are attracted to the masculine, right? The feminine is attracted to the masculine, and the masculine is bold and daring and risk taking and adventurous and taking on big challenges and handling big things and being tough. And so the feminine's so attracted to that, but then she wants to tame it. She wants it to calm down and be nice, and so she's drawn to the lion. It's like that's the sexiest thing ever, But she's like, well, if you come back, like I want you to be safe and I want you to chill out and I want you to calm down. And so then you get this caged lion. And so there's this point there that's so important. I hope everybody listening just can pay really close attention to this. What she wants to do and what she's trying to do is bring refinement. So we're not barbarian cavemen. So, we're not lions to our kids because oh, they just broke something. And I'm like, rah. It's like, no, that's crazy. And she wants to feel safe. And so she's trying to mitigate risk. So instead of that refining process, it becomes the caged lion. And then after a few years, she's like, I'm not even attracted to him anymore. Like he just
Mm.
sits around. He's just watches sports all the time. He's on his phone. He's not chasing any goals. He's putting on weight. He's not into me anymore. He's not into kids. He's just kind of going through life checking the boxes. I was like, yeah, you caged the lion. So for men, we have to be chasing big adventures. We have to be taking appropriate risks, not stupid risks. And this is when guys take stupid risks because they're like, they feel so empty, so unfulfilled. They have no excitement in their lives and they go out and do something really dumb. So set some big goals. Like I came up with an acronym several years ago of dumb goals because we've all heard about smart goals, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, we need dumb goals. And so I came up with the acronym. It's demanding, unrealistic, meaningful, and bold.
Wow.
And men need dumb goals, things that excite us, but also intimidate us. Like, man, I'm a little scared about this one. That's big. And what it does is it gives you this edge and it makes you feel alive. And you're fighting for something that actually matters, not yelling at the ref through the TV. It's like, give me a break or fantasy football or whatever. Like, no, you need to fight for something that actually matters,
Mhm.
that gives you meaning and purpose. You need this noble aim. And you need to be dangerous. Men need to be dangerous, absolutely capable of danger so they can really protect,
Mm.
right? And they're not barbarians, they're not dictators, they're not tyrants, they're not taking advantage of people, they're not robbing people, they're not hurting anyone, but they are dangerous. They are capable of stopping evil.
Hmm.
And they're tough. And they're learning how to handle things. That's what masculinity is? Masculinity is the ability developed through practice and training to handle hard things. That's sexy. That's masculine. That's what the feminine is drawn to and needs from us.
Mm. Yeah, I love
So
that.
we have to be tough and tender, right? Because we're not just going to be stiff and hard. Because that's what she wants to do. She's like, "Hey, you can't just be a rock." And she'll say something like, "I just want you to be vulnerable and open and tell me everything." And so the guy will be like, "Well, okay." And he dumps the whole truck on his wife. And then, of course, she's like, she's not built to handle that. And so then she loses respect, doesn't know what to do with it all. It's like, it's too much. Oh my goodness, why'd you do that? And it's not what she really wants. She just wants you to feel emotions and she wants you to be engaged and with her. She wants you to communicate well. She doesn't want you
Mm.
to dump the whole truck on her. And
Mhm.
she doesn't want you to be tamed. She wants you to be refined.
Yeah.
And so a truly masculine man is working on himself harder than he works on anything else. He's chasing big goals. He's handling hard things. He can do tough stuff. And he's practicing that. He's built it in. Here we go again, micro dosing and macro dosing. So an easy
Yeah.
example of this is like take a cold shower every day. It's a micro dose. It just sucks. You don't want to do it, but you do it because you said you'd do it. You do it because you're testing yourself. You're like, no, I get in there, I turn the water on ice cold. In the winter, it's even harder. You're like, yeah, I do what I say I'm going to do. This sucks. I don't want to do this, but I do it because I'm a man. And so it's this little microdose of like, yeah, I do hard things. I do uncomfortable things. And then the macro dosing, I took my kids and we went and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
Mm.
That's a beast. And we go out and we do hard things. And I took my teens and we go into like extreme humanitarian it, um, operations, I would say, like after big natural disasters. Like go in there and really help, really do
Mm.
something that makes a difference. Go into austere environments and suffer and grind for somebody else's benefit. Like that's a macro dose of tough.
Wow.
And it's
Love that.
admirable, it's sexy, it's awesome, and it's masculine.
Yeah. So good. So good. I heard somebody say a little while ago, be easy to love and hard to kill.
Yeah, I love that.
I love
Yep.
that.
That's perfect. That's a great fit, right? Be hard to kill.
Yeah.
And be
Yeah.
tough. And that comes down to training. Like I gotta share my all-time favorite quote is from Archilochus. He said, "We don't rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our training."
Hmm.
I'll repeat that. We don't rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our training. Another way I like to teach that is like we don't live at the level of our hopes, we live at the level of our habits. So if we want to be hard to kill, we have to practice being hard to kill.
Mm.
You put it into a habit. I have a habit of training. If we want to be easy to love, we have to practice being easy to love. We have to make it a habit to be lovable and respectable. That's masculinity, brother. To be
Mm.
genuinely lovable and respectable.
Did you know that over 70% of divorces in the United States are initiated by women? And in situations where the wife is the higher earner, that statistic goes to 90%. That means that 9 out of the 10 marriages that end in divorce have been initiated by the women in the relationship. What does that tell us? It tells us that we've got work to do. So I want to ask you today, have you been struggling in your marriage? Maybe you've been winning in the boardroom, but you've been losing in the bedroom. In your career, everything just seems to make sense, but when you get home, you can't quite seem to put the puzzle pieces together. Or maybe since becoming a dad, you've gained a bunch of weight, maybe 10, 15, 30, even 100 pounds. You see, all of this leads to frustration, insecurity, and just an eroded sense of self-confidence. Because deep down, you know you were built for more passionate marriage, a strong mind, and a powerful body. But you see, the uncomfortable truth is this: the way that you are living today will become the way that your son lives when he becomes a man. The qualities you exhibit in your marriage today will become the qualities that your daughter will look for in a man someday, either good or bad. Now, I help men win their wives back, lose weight, and develop unshakable self-confidence. And I do this by coaching them one-to-one for 16 weeks of intensive coaching. Now, this program is for men who have seen success professionally but are struggling personally. So if you're listening to this and you are a married man who's under 50, who's earning 6 figures, and has struggled with any of the things I've just talked about, then I want you to pause this episode and I want you to hit the link in the show notes below and book a complimentary session with me where I'm going to show you exactly what to do in order to get your life back on track. If there's a fire growing in your gut as you're listening to this, I want you to listen to your instincts, brother. Don't become another statistic. All right, let's get back to the show. Love it, man. Love it. Just gonna wrap up the episode here and just in a couple minutes, but I did want to ask you one last question that I ask every guest on the show. And I'm particularly after a lot of the things you've shared with me, I'm really interested to hear what you have to say regarding it. But basically, what I ask all my guests is that I want you to picture, I want you to picture your death. Okay, you pass away, and the memorial service had just happened, and you said you have 7 kids, right?
Mhm.
That's right. Wow, you are a courageous man. Uh, but picture with me, you could have this out of body experience, if you will. You'd be a fly on the wall, and everyone had left the memorial service, and your wife and your 7 kids are sitting around the table, and they're just reminiscing on Greg, the dad that he was, and all the things he taught them, and they're sharing memories about the life that you lived and the man that you were, the father that you were to them. What are just 1 or 2 things that you would want your children to say about the father you were to them and the life that you lived?
Yeah, love it. I think about this all the time
Yeah,
because
me too.
there's a perspective we get. Some people have called it the deathbed perspective.
Yeah.
There's a perspective we get looking back, and we have the capability as human beings to imagine that. We can jump forward in our minds and look back. We can ask ourselves, what am I so glad I did? Or what do I regret? What do I wish I had done? And we can do that practice. And I think about that all the time. And one exercise I do, and hopefully this is helpful for listeners, I do this test, what I call the silent film test. If your life were a silent film, Like, what would be blatantly obvious to everyone watching? We stop
Hmm.
talking, we think about all the words we say. Is it clearly obvious? Like, it would hold up in court that you love your wife and children. You put them first. You're invested. Like, they're the most important thing in your life. And then you practice what you preach, right? So when I think
Hmm.
about my wife and kids, um, at that moment, I'm gonna be way over 100 by the time I kick out of here. And someone's gonna have to like take my heart out and beat it to death because I plan on living a long time. So there's gonna be a lot of grandkids, great grandkids there. I plan on being healthy and strong and awake, energized, and alive till a very long time. But the most important piece, brother, is who we are. It's not what I say, it's not what I do, it's not what I achieve, it's not how much wealth I acquire, all the different stuff and things, all the accolades, the honors, the titles, the letters after my name. None of that actually matters in the end. Or right now, actually. It's who you are.
Hmm.
And so I want my children to use those verbs, those are verbs, like he was truly this thing. He is like this. And that well, that I want him to say he really lived, really truly lived and loved life, and he practiced what he preached.
Hmm.
And it's so huge for me to just live with integrity. That if I say it, if I believe it, I live it.
Hmm.
Truly, genuinely live it. And I am, right? That be verb. I am a formidable family man.
Hmm. Love that. Love that. There's so much of a disconnect in my experience with men about who they are and who they want to become. And in
Hmm.
that gap is where that tension lies, that frustration that keeps you awake at night when you're trying to lay
Hmm.
your head on the pillow at night and you're torn up because you know that you could be more living a more authentic life. You could be a better dad, a better husband. And that gap is where our tension is. And so if we can learn to live in alignment, you know, with all the things that we say are important and actually live that way, man, what contentment and what peace can come from that. So thank you for
Exactly.
sharing,
That's
brother.
the source of disappointment right there. You're exactly
Mhm.
right. And the cool
Mhm.
thing is, man, we can do it today.
Yeah.
Start today. Don't think, well, it's, for the rest. No, just today.
Mhm.
Right now, today, do the things that your very best self would do. Be that
Love it.
formidable family man today.
And if you are looking to do that, you can reach out to either myself. If you listen to the show, you know how to find me, you know where I hang out. But it's a great question for you, Greg. I know there's going to be a ton of people who want to get more of your content or maybe potentially work from you or work with you or whatever the case might be. So where could we find you on the internet? How can we get in contact with you? Or just kind of keep in touch, brother.
Yeah, I love it. My wife and I do a podcast together called the Extraordinary Family Life Podcast. So we get both perspectives of everything. We're an open book. So we just talk about all things family. And then I have a podcast called The Formidable Family Man. And then, of course, you can reach me on social media and Greg.Denning on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Have the YouTube channel, and I just love to help. I'm here to help
Mm,
as part of my life's work. My main life's work is my family, and the second part of my mission in life is to support families and especially men, help men genuinely be great husbands, great fathers, great businessmen, providers, protectors. And so I'm here to help. Love to help. Whatever questions, challenges people are facing. That's what I wake up and live for this stuff, man, like
mm.
you do.
Love it, man. Well, hey, if you're listening, the notes in the show notes below, you're gonna see all of his links that he just mentioned. Reach out, follow him, connect with him. I've only known him for a short amount of time, but I have not left a conversation with him without being inspired. So do yourself, do your masculinity, do your family a favor, and get more Greg in your life. Greg, thank you so much for being a part of this show today. It was an honor and a pleasure to have this conversation with you, brother.
Ditto. Thank you, brother.
Wow, what an incredible episode. Listen, if you are watching on YouTube today, I want to hear from you, okay? Leave it in the comments below. What was the big takeaway for you? What was that big aha moment? And let's start the conversation. If you've listened to this episode and you've decided that you want help today, if you need coaching, if you need some resources, feel free to please reach out to me. My email is mitchell@dadnationco.com. My website is dadnationco.com. You can hit me up on Instagram @dadnationco. And I've got a ton of resources for you. I'm here to help you, support you in any way I can, and to serve you in a powerful way. So check those links. I'll have them posted below. But other than that, listen, I'm here for you. I'm in your corner. Have an incredible week. We'll catch up soon.